Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Combo League podcast recap of Week 15. As always, I'm your host, Avengers. Alongside me is our other host, Lima.
Hey guys, it's great to be back for another episode, closing down on the season, so it's excited to get to the playoffs and get these things going.
Yes, as Lima just said, we are getting really close to the playoffs. We just advanced to Week 16. We are doing a Week 15 recap, and as you can see, a lot of games, a lot of wins, a lot of losses. Redskins versus Saints. We're not going into some of these games, we're just going to say the score. Redskins and Saints. Redskins do win, keeping them alive, getting a playoff spot in the NFC. It's been a big three-way between a lot of teams in the NFC trying to get two of the last playoff spot. Kansas City at Dolphins. Kansas City just cracking out and trying to keep that division theirs.
Yeah, and he's pretty much closed this division out. I think he might actually have clinched it now. I could be wrong, but I think he might have clinched it.
Yes. What's next on our list is Colts versus Jags, Lima. Really tough game for you. You lost. Colts only one game behind now.
Yeah, it was a terrible game on my end. Really good game on his end. And yeah, now I only have a 1-game lead for the division with 2 games remaining. And he is 2-0 against me. The first game was a straight sim, but he beat me in this one. So he's 2-0, so he owns the head-to-head tiebreaker. So if it comes down to that, he would get the division.
Oh yeah, a lot of divisions like that right now. But here comes our first real game. Like our last predictions video, we did say this was going to be one of our big games. San Francisco at Dallas. 2 division leaders trying to stay alive in their division, keep ahead. 49ers came up above the Cowboys, and I think we talked about this with the injury report of Dallas not having their #1 receiver.
Yeah, I mean, it did look like this was mostly a defensive game anyways, but having his #1 receiver probably would have done a little better. But the big thing that I noticed right off the bat was the 49ers won this game with committing 3 more turnovers than the Cowboys did. So that was interesting.
If you look at the box score, the 49ers didn't come back until the 3rd quarter. So it really was the Cowboys until the 2nd half. Offensive side, both quarterbacks doing really poorly. Good yardage and a touchdown or 2, but just handing that ball over to the other side.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers in this one. But
in the rushing game,
Nicholas Peck with the rookie with a good game. 22 attempts, 148 yards with an average of 6.7, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, that's what you want. The fumble does hurt a little bit. I'm sure that's probably one of his turnovers. But yeah, that's what you want from your run game, definitely.
And it's good because that means every 2 plays he's getting a first down plus some.
Yeah, that's true. And then 4 attempts, 4 yards for and a touchdown for Ross. I don't know how to say that. Ross Shearman. Shearman.
So he looked like he might have been his power back during that.
Yeah, probably 3rd and short situations. He probably, I'm guessing, had a run from the 1-yard line into the end zone.
Devonta Freeman still not doing anything in this league. 11 rushes, 44 yards.
Yeah,
receiving,
it's a little surprising.
We go into this receiving. Thomas Cruz actually 4 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. 20.5, not bad for a rookie 5'10" wide receiver. Not being #1. But maybe becoming his #1 next year, right?
I mean, yeah, definitely. if you're getting a rookie, in a huge game like this, come out and be your #1 receiver, that shows a lot of potential for the future.
Marcel Reese, older tight end for the 49ers, not doing too bad himself.
Still getting the job done.
Terrence Williams. John Ross, of course, up there again, not having that many receptions or yards, but coming in with another touchdown this week. And so did Kayvon Smith, 6'2", receiver. Looks like very long passes to him. For only 2 receptions, 60 yards.
It was one long of 52, so the other one was an 8-yard reception. That's probably, and the 52-yarder, I'm guessing, is where the touchdown came in.
And then the defense, were what we really were talking about with all these turnovers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sacks.
So 49ers had 4 sacks, and they were all 4 from different players.
2 linebackers and 2 defensive linemen. All pretty young except for Malcolm Smith. Been in the league for 6 years.
Yeah, and then going to interceptions, another game with all interceptions coming from different players.
Looks like the only user linebacker, Jalen Smith, coming in with his interception.
And as you can see, the 74-yard long was returned for a touchdown, so that was a pick 6.
Fabian Morrow, 74 yards for his pick. That's pretty well probably what kept him in this game in the end. But good job to the 49ers coming out on top. Not the prettiest win, only by 1 possession, but still good games both sides. Hopefully next 2 weeks they come and win.
Yeah, and that's a little interesting for the Cowboys division now, because he took the loss, and then you had the Redskins and the Giants both taking wins, so that puts them a lot closer to that taking over that division.
Oh, yeah. Patriots and Jets. The second game of the week, and the closest game.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really, even though I predicted the Patriots were going to take it, this is the game that I had in mind. Like this picture here, 24-28. Like a score close like that is what I was thinking was going to happen.
And it looks like the Patriots actually had it in the game in the first 3 quarters, but that 4th quarter came in clutch for the Jets.
Yeah, and you could tell, looking at the yardage, the Patriots had almost 100 more yards than the Jets did.
We come over to the passing. Jimmy Garoppolo, 311 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Christian Hackenberg, 190 passing yards and 1 touchdown, 1 interception. What happened here? Because the Jets are known for passing, and Hackenberg usually having 300 to 500 passing yards each week.
Yeah, well, this is a divisional game, so this is their 4th time playing each other. They both know each other, and like divisional games like this usually come down to defense from previous experience.
Oh yeah. Rushing, Lamar Miller, no, not a big rushing game for either side. Lamar Miller, 22 attempts, 78 yards, 3.5, and a touchdown. And James White, 13 attempts, 50 yards, 3.8, and nothing else to show for it.
Yeah, and this really wasn't that good of a game rushing. Even though Lamar Miller had 78 yards, it was off of 22 attempts. So, not the best.
Receiving, who was our top receiver?
Malcolm Mitchell.
Not a name you see very often in any franchise.
Yeah.
Having 6 receptions, 118 yards, and 1 touchdown. The only receiver to eclipse 100 yards.
Yeah.
But
well,
look, as you can see, the longest was 80.
Yeah. Well, the Patriots receiving core is getting a little old now, so it's nice to see a young guy like Malcolm Mitchell being able to come in and have the game like this. So it's looking good for their future.
And the Jets' leading receiver was Lamar Miller.
Yeah. Well, if you couldn't get him going on the ground, it was nice to see that he was still useful in the passing game.
And then, as always, big man himself, maybe not the tallest, but a big man, Rob Gronkowski, 4 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, the performance you expect out of him.
And then the defensive side. Sacks, one by Trey Flowers, one by Jonathan Freeney, and one by Carrington Bindum.
That sounds right.
So, as you can see, the Patriots did have more pressure and interceptions. Kyle Van Noy,
Wow.
not a name I
Yeah,
really see. Darren Lee, of course, and DeAndre Levy.
and wow, DeAndre Levy with the pick 6, and his speed
90
is
yards.
not that good. So it's interesting to see that he returned it to the house.
It was 90 yards. That's what it wasn't
Yeah.
10-yard or 20-yarder. It was 90 yards back down
And
to the other side of the field.
he booked it down there.
And then a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Leonard Williams, and not just a simple fumble recovery and 2 yards. It was 21 yards. 302-pound defensive lineman returning a fumble 21 yards with no one catching up to him.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that in a game that was a one-score game, he only won by 4 points, and he had 2 defensive touchdowns, and one of them was in the red zone. So that's a potential 14-point difference just on that pick 6.
Yeah. Good job to both sides, though, making it one of the biggest games of the week. I have to say this is the #1 game of the week, just because it was so close.
Yeah, that's what we said last week. This was going to be the game of the week.
Alright. And the other games are mine and Cleveland. It kind of cut out on us the first time, and then he kind of got ahead on the second time because of some things with EA, but he comes back and it ties me and him for the same record in the division, making it even closer for both of us trying to make a playoff.
Yeah, that was a good clutch win on his end, because he was only 1 game behind you, and now he ties you, and you guys are either 2 games behind the division leader, or 1.
2. We are 2 games behind the division leader. But here comes in the next game, Tennessee versus Seahawks. I did not see Tennessee winning this. But this puts the Seahawks kind of out of the race. And if we look at this, Tennessee came back in the 3rd quarter. It was the Seahawks game until the 3rd quarter.
Yeah. This was interesting to see him come out in this one, because he's still fighting to make the playoffs. He's not out of it yet. And the Seahawks, this was, you don't want to say it was a must win, but I mean, it was as close to a must win as you can get without calling it a must win for him. Yeah, because I mean, I believe he's 2 or 3 games back on the division now, but now he's not even in the wild card. He's fighting the other wild card teams to get back into it.
Ben Roethlisberger, 319 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He's even said him and Big Ben did not get along. He has a lot of trouble. But as you can see, Marcus Mariota, no touchdowns, no picks, only 104 yards. It looks like he tried to not do a passing game.
Yeah, because you can see that he was 10 for 15, so his average wasn't even bad. His completion percentage, but looking over, you see Todd Gurley with 21 rushing attempts for 136 yards, so...
And 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he's
Le'Veon
got...
Bell coming in for a touchdown himself. So did Thomas Rawls, but Carlos Hyde, 13 yards on one attempt for a touchdown himself for the Titans. So it looks like this was a rushing game because even Marcus Mariota had 4 attempts, 49 yards.
You see 4 different players with attempts in this game for the Titans. So it was definitely a rushing game for him. Which, like we said in the past with him, is how he wins his games, is when he gets the ball moving on the ground. And he was able to do that in this game, and he came out on top.
And the only person to have a touchdown is Allen Robinson. It looked four wide receivers for the Seahawks at the top, but looks like nothing could be done.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you see 2 long receptions for Doug Baldwin and Paul Richardson, but neither of them had touchdowns.
And then defense, where it looks like it came into play here. On the sacks, no one. There was, oh, my bad. Not nobody. Frank Clark, Jaron Reed, 2 really young defensive linemen, and then Kevin Dodd.
Another young defensive lineman for the Titans.
Well, not defensive lineman, but he is a defensive player.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I guess you could, because left outside linebackers like to play on the line. So, three young guys all doing that. And then here comes in the interceptions. And I can already tell by just the first person, Kyle Slayton, rookie middle linebacker, 71 yards. You can tell that was a big 6.
Yeah.
Logan Ryan and Trey Davius White. But where was that the only one? Yeah, it was. It was the only pick 6.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the Seahawks without an interception at all.
Oh yeah.
It's really interesting to see.
The Legion of Boom.
Yeah. The Legion of Boom, and plus he's got a good user linebacker, and I mean he knows some of the plays to call on defense. That's right. That's right. You can, yeah, that's true. But the Seahawks still have a couple that can be users. Kevin Pierre-Louis is a hidden gem in this one. He's got, I believe, 87 or 88 speed.
I think it's 87.
Oh, and
but good job to the Titans for staying in their for their division. Your division, one of the hardest. And let's see, any other games to talk about. I guess Oakland versus the Bills. Oakland coming out on top of this one, pushing the Bills down further. And Oakland, I guess, just getting another win on the season, because I don't think that Oakland, the Chargers, or the Broncos have a chance of taking that division anymore.
Yeah, and he's still fighting though. He knows there's a slight chance that he could get a wild card spot, or it's possible that the Chiefs lose their last 2 and he wins out. So anything can happen.
Well, what do the division standings look like now? And what a surprise! 14-0, 2 games left. Looking like they can go undefeated. The Panthers.
Yeah, and right off the bat, you see the 4 teams that have clinched the playoffs. Jets not clinching in the division yet, even though he did have the win over the division opponent. But you see the Panthers and Vikings who have had theirs, and the 49ers clinching their division last week.
Steelers are part of my division at number 5. Still not technically not clinching the division just yet. Saying we have a chance.
Yeah.
Patriots at number 6, Cowboys at number 7 because I lost. I actually moved down below the Browns because I'm a game loss. I was fighting for that, but let's look at the individual standings. AFC, Steelers, 2 games, and me and Browns are still tied.
Yeah, that's a little interesting in this division. For him, I I could be wrong here, but I think the only possibility of the Steelers not winning the division is for the Browns to win the division, because he's got the 2-0 record against him, and depending on the division record, yeah, he is 4-2 in the division, and the Ravens are 2-3. So I think the only person that can clinch the division, other than the Steelers, would be the Browns.
But I still have a chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely not out of it.
NFC South, which is yours.
This division got closer from last week because I did have the 2-game lead. Now I lost this week, and both the Titans and the Colts won theirs. So they pulled in with a game behind me, and with 2 games to play. So this could be really interesting.
Yeah. And y'all's division, my division, a lot of the divisions have been really close all season. NFC East, Jets, pretty much, I think they have it in the bag.
Yeah, they do now, because he is, I believe he's undefeated in the division. Yeah, he's 5-0 in the division. So that means he's beat the Patriots both times. So really, I don't see why that's not a why, but yeah, I think he's got this division locked up. Yeah, and then you go to the AFC West, and it's what we said earlier. The Chiefs have a 2-game lead there with 2 to play, but the Raiders aren't out of it yet, because you see the Chiefs don't have the Y. So there is a chance that the Chiefs can lose out, and the Raiders can take his spot and get in.
But there's only one division game left for the Chiefs versus the Broncos.
Yeah.
Meaning, if he wins that, even I don't know who would have that tiebreaker, because they each beat each other one time.
Yeah, they each beat each other once, and they would have the same division record. Because if you go over to division wins and loss, you see Chiefs 3-2. So if the Broncos were to win that game, they would all be 3-3 in the division, and then I believe it would go to wins against common opponents.
Well, we'll see with that. I'm really hoping the Chiefs, because the Chiefs come back from the beginning.
Yeah, and then
NFC North, Vikings. Nothing. We've already talked about this many times with the Vikings just having a hold on that.
yeah, and he's staying in that. He's already clinched it for weeks now. Like you said, nothing new.
NFC South again.
Same thing, yeah, nothing new.
Clinch that. Here comes the fun part with the NFC East. Cowboys only on 1 game ahead of the Giants and Redskins. Where you actually said that the Giants might not actually be in the race a couple weeks back. And they have come back,
Yeah.
to tie with the Redskins, to actually be over the Redskins.
Yeah, and this division is really interesting. With I mean, you can compare it to my division, because obviously their records are better, but it's the same scenario. Cowboys and I are both up a game, and the 2 people behind them have the same record and are both fighting for that spot.
This division has been a big one this entire season.
Yeah, and the Giants and the Cowboys still have to play each other in Week 17. So that's going to be really interesting.
NFC West, 49ers have the Y now, clinch their division. With the Seahawks being at 8-6, 1 game behind the Giants and Redskins at 9-5. Do you think they still have a chance in these last 2 games?
Oh yeah, they still have a chance. Really, I think one of these 2 teams is going to lose a game, most likely. The Giants being the Giants and the Redskins. So there's still a chance that he could slip up in there. But yeah, it's getting close, but not quite out of it yet.
Alright, and the last thing on our agenda will be these weekly awards for our lucky number week 15. And we actually see a new one. We actually see 2 new people and a returning person. We have Gooch, running back for the Redskins, 29 carries, 267 yards, a 9.2 rush average, 5 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 6 yards. But Eli Apple, the Giants, actually coming back, 2 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, and a touchdown. Looking like a repeat of the week before. Or in week 13, my bad. And then the Chargers, Johnny Manziel. What is this? I've never seen this before. 12 for 14, 250 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, sacked twice, 9 carries for 80 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I think the big thing that did it for him was the 80 rush yards and the 2 rushing touchdowns, but that was a sim game. So it's really interesting to see that.
That's a surprise to see a sim game being on there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But it's also a little surprising that means nobody in the AFC did good enough on offense to take over in front of a sim game. That's a little interesting.
And then Jonathan Allen, an end. Not a corner, not a linebacker, and defensive lineman. 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumble, a forced fumble recovery, and a touchdown.
That's huge. 3 forced fumbles, wow.
And that's a big name because he lost 40-6 against the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then I think the key performance in this week was the Redskins running back with the 29 carries for 267 rush yards with a 9.2 average, so that's almost a first down every rush. And 5 rushing touchdowns.
Good job to everybody for week 15. Good luck in week 16 and 17. Good job to everybody who got Player of the Week. Y'all use those players very well in their perspectives. And hopefully they can redo that in week 16 and 17 for y'all.
Yeah, I want to say good job to the 2 teams that clinched the playoffs this week with the Jets and the 49ers. Jets clinching a wild card and 49ers clinching the division. Yeah, I want to say good job to both of them. I know after this week we're going to probably get a couple more clinches, maybe not for divisions, but at least wild card spots. So good luck to all those teams fighting to get in. Good luck to the teams that have the leads and they're trying to stay on top. Yeah, and this is going to be a really interesting last 2 weeks, I think.
Oh yeah, because this one people are going to fight the hardest.
Yeah,
I think some of this pressure is going to get to some of the people who are fighting for a playoff round, myself included, with 2 games left of trying to get a wild card round.
Yeah, and like for me too, this is going to be an interesting game coming up. Playing a guy that I've never played before, even though it is a divisional game. He's new in there, so it's really going to be interesting. And I will feel a little nervous going into that game, to be honest.
But as always, thank you for everybody who's watching. If y'all do enjoy, please hit that like button. We know a lot of y'all do enjoy because y'all come back. Hit that like button to show y'all support. If you're new to the channel or if you've been on this channel many times and you just haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. And as always, I'm your host, Avengers. Alongside me is our other host, Lima.
Yeah, it was great to be back for another show. We'll hit you back with that video of our predictions for week 16, and like we say at the end of every video, if you have any suggestions for us, let us know. Anything that we are doing you don't want to see, anything that we're not doing that you want to see, just let us know.
And we will see y'all next time on another recap.